Lingua Brutalica is a podcast that uses ethnographic interviews to study language use in the extreme metal community. We are studying a music scene known for its love of themes and topics generally considered offensive, and it is likely that some episodes will touch on topics or opinions some listeners may find tasteless or ethically problematic. Ethnographic researchers aim to adopt the interviewee's point of view so that we can draw out and study the attitudes, beliefs, and practices that are important to them. We want to make it clear that in presenting these conversations here, we do not endorse any of their content. Our aim is to explore the thought processes behind language use in this long-running, international, and yet understudied scene. Hi everyone, welcome back to Lingua Brutalica with me, Jess Benny-Smith, and my co-host, Wes Robertson.
Hello.
In this episode today, we're talking with Carl Beam, who is both the guitarist and lyricist for Undeath, speaking to us all the way from New York. How are you, Carl?
How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you both for having me on. I'm very excited.
Thanks for being here.
Excited to have you, yeah.
So just to start us off, would you mind just describing Undeath's music for someone who's potentially never heard it before?
Well, we play death metal, like 90s ass death metal, just pretty regular, not too crazy, no prog parts, no like fretless bass, pretty just riffs and vocals and choruses.
Is that the style of music that you first got into when you first got into metal, or how did you kind of get into a place where you wanted to produce that kind of like modern take on kind of a classic sound?
Well, I got into metal a long time ago. I like, even as a little kid, like 9, 10, I grew up listening to like new metal and stuff with my mother. And then I got into death metal through World of Warcraft when I was like pretty young, like 13. Yeah, just some like dude in my guild was like, you need to like check out. He's like, oh, you like Disturb and shit. He's like, you need to check out At the Gates. So that's like how it all sort of started from there. And I guess like really, like Slaughter of the Soul is a super like pop oriented like death metal album, so I think that probably does have something to do with that. But
was there anything? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jess.
I was going to say, is there anything specific that drew you to like death metal as opposed to other subgenres of metal?
Well, when I started on Death with our drummer Matthew, I mean, it still is like really what we're both into, but that's what we kind of bonded over when we first like started hanging out and jamming and shit, and that was probably like 4 years ago. And you know, like death metal is still like pretty popular right now and shit, so I don't know, it just like worked out that we both are really into the new stuff and the old stuff. And I mean, there's never really like a question of what our band was going to sound like. I guess like we kind of just jammed and we were like, this is cool, like we're gonna just keep doing shit like this and try to get better at it.
So when you were first getting into death metal, or even back in your new metal days, did you pay much attention to lyrics? Was that part of it that interested you at all?
Yeah, totally. Because like I was like a choir kid and shit. You know, like in oh, I'm sorry, can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. We're gonna ask. Cool. I mean, we're gonna ask you questions about swear words that you use. So yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, lyrics were definitely not necessarily that I was like paying attention to like the format of the lyrics and like how, you know, like rhyme schemes and like meter and shit like that, but I was just like really into like singing along to like songs because I was like a singer and still am, I guess. So yes and no.
Was there anything about those lyrics that you found particularly, you know, appealing, like their content or the delivery?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, I guess delivery is like singer to singer, and there are definitely singers who've always like, I'm sure they stick out to everyone as people who have like awesome delivery, like Rob Halford or like King Diamond or like Corpse Grinder, you know, like people who just like, I don't think that someone else like could do their jobs as like a singer. But back in the day, like, I don't know, like when you're a kid, you know, like I feel like you hear a line of lyrics and like the vibe of the lyrics like really sticks out kind of. And At the Gates really like Slaughter of the Soul does have like badass fucking lyrics, so I don't know, I like lyrics that rhyme for sure.
Okay,
that's important.
What why do you like what about rhyme is enjoyable to you? Or why do you feel yourself drawn to that? Especially given that like it's all, sometimes screamed to a level where you can't even necessarily hear that you're rhyming.
So true, dude. Absolutely. I don't know. I just feel like I don't necessarily love like poetry style lyrics that are like it could be like a text separate from the music. I'm more into like just stuff that flows really well and like fits the vibe of the riffs and like tells a story like in a way. I mean, like it can be a story or cannot be a story, but like just got to be like consistent in the song itself, I guess. Like if it's like a self-referential song or something like that, I don't know, but I don't know.
So when you were checking all this stuff out, did you like develop a sense of like what metal lyrics are about, or like kind of what makes lyrics metal, or do you not feel that there is any kind of boundary on that?
No, actually, I was just thinking about this today because I listened to your episode with Mr. Inferi, and I can't remember his name unfortunately off the top of my head.
Stevie,
But,
yeah.
Yes. But and that's a really interesting question. Like, I think you asked him, can you differentiate between lyrics without the music, lyrics that are metal and not metal?
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think, yeah, like they're definitely like, what's more metal than talking about like gore shit or like, brutality, whatever, etc. But I feel like even some of the most brutal bands like Defeated Sanity doesn't really necessarily have lyrics like that. So I don't know. But I definitely do think there is something that makes lyrics metal, and the delivery of the lyrics like this, like there's just got to be a certain cadence to like make the vocals like heavy, like the rhythmic like sort of it, like part of it. I don't know. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we get you. So you've talked about what you do like in metal lyrics. What about what you don't like? Is there anything that really kind of turns you off metal lyrics?
Yeah, it's honestly like songs that have a lot of lyrics. Not that like
okay.
having
Interesting,
but like a huge list of like a novel length song. I'm not really into that sort of thing. Oh, I'm not saying I'm not, because I do love bands that do that. I'm just saying personally, I never have written like that. Like I've always been more of like a shorter, like a middle length songwriter, like 2-3.5 minutes, 4 tops, I'd say, really. And most of my shit has always been like verse chorus based. I don't know.
Well, when we got the promotion email for this album, actually there was a quote. I wasn't sure if it was for you, but you're actually saying that like with this new album you wanted to really, really kind of hone in on that kind of verse chorus structure. Is that something that you feel also kind of works with your writing style? Like, do you like that kind of sort of set, working within that kind of set of restrictions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we started Undeath, that was something that I was trying to get away from a little bit with my writing, which is like the first few demos and stuff. Like there's not really like a verse chorus structure to the songs at all. They're pretty linear. Sometimes they would repeat or like start with the same, or start with a riff and then end with the same riff, but like heavier or something like that to tie it together. But yeah, I really wanted to move more toward like an identifiable and relatable song structure. Like it doesn't always necessarily have to be verse chorus, verse chorus, bridge, victory lap, chorus end, or anything. Like there's totally variations you could have with that. But I think that it's just a little more effective, and especially when you start playing live a lot as a band, which we have done now, just kind of like cooler to play like songs on stage. I don't know. I just think it goes over better with the crowd. Everyone kind of likes it more. I like it more. So we're just doing what we want, but yes, we're definitely trying to do that.
So how do you get to that stage? Like what's the process, right, of writing lyrics for songs that you do intend to have that kind of very clear structure?
So weird because it's never the same. That's still like just how we used to do. I mean, the single that just came out, Rise from the Grave, I'd say it's probably our most, song that's like structured like a pop song. And the chorus riff for that song, the part where we literally say it's time to rise from the grave, came about after most of the song was already written. I'm not sure. I don't think that I necessarily had vocals done for all the song, but But yeah, that was written after the other parts of the song. And then it was just like, oh, like obviously it needs to go, sort of like it's time. I don't know. And also like subject matter of like the songs, I feel like just kind of depends on like what the riffs sound like. Just kind of get a vibe and do the subject matter.
So you do usually lyrics after the song is written, not before?
Not well, yes. I don't think I've ever necessarily penned. Maybe I've penned like ideas that lyrics could be about, but I've never, because to me the lyrics have to. This is why I like to do them, because when I'm writing a song, the lyrics come with it. Like I've never had a song that's finished just waiting for lyrics. Oftentimes I'll have several riffs that could go together and be a song, but I can never like solidify repetition, like how many times the riffs need to repeat and everything, until there are lyrics. Like until like I know, like, oh, this verse isn't gonna be too long, or like there's not gonna be too many lines, or blah blah blah, like shit like that. So it's just like they go together, like the writing of the riffs and the lyrics and the structuring and all that sort of stuff.
So would it be kind of like you never start a song with lyrics, but you also never finish the song before the lyrics are involved in some way? Is that kind of?
Absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Right. And are there any like complications involved in writing lyrics that you don't actually sing yourself? Like we were wondering, is there a bit of like back and forth between yourself and Alexander, the vocalist? Like, does he change things once you've written them, or does he just kind of adopt them wholesale?
Well, I do definitely try to like be conscious of like physical limits of a human. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna give him stuff that's like like nonstop. That would be crazy. But no, I mean we do definitely, like I'll show him the lyrics, and then if he's not into something, we'll change it or work on it. Like sometimes we just like change a couple words or something like that. But for the most part, I mean, no, it's like we just kind of go over it, and they're not like too crazy technical or anything. So I like to try to have the band part, like the string section and the drums and stuff learned, and then we'll bring Alex in, and I'm just like, this is how it goes. Like let's run this first couple times and shit, and we'll just get it down. Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's pretty streamlined at this point too.
So he's never been like, I don't want to sing about that. I'm not interested.
I don't think so. I think we're all pretty on the same page about like not that we're limited in what we can sing about, but what an Undeath song, should be about. Like, I don't know, I'm not gonna write a song about like eating candy gumdrops, but also not gonna write a song about like brutally murdering women or something weird, you know what I mean? So I mean we like to keep it fantasy and keep it gore and shit, but not like too brutal. So I don't know.
Well, given that you've mentioned that, like something we also wanted to ask about because of the content of your lyrics is, how you see yourself relative to the lyrics, because, a lot of research on metal has basically suggested that metal lyricists tend to take a lot of distance from their lyrics, particularly when the content of those lyrics is, generally considered to be taboo. What's your take on this?
Yeah, well, personally, I can't speak for anyone else, but I would say that yeah, there's a fair bit of distance. I mean, they're basically like, I mean, I'm not trying to distance myself from them because I don't think that they're good, right? Like, I'm like not ashamed of them or anything. I think that they're totally good, and like our songs are good and vocal parts are good and shit. And our lyrics, like I said, like I think that actually I don't necessarily have to distance myself too far from the lyrics because they aren't like Chris Barnes lyrics off of The Bleeding or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and I mean, yeah, it is like fucking mad goofy to write about like skeleton armies and shit, but also as long as it's like delivered seriously and like well and executed well, it's like I don't know if you really even need to distance yourself necessarily, especially bands who write about more serious shit, like, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
But I mean, do you consider like the lyrics to be like speaking very, very generally, are they just kind of a fantasy, or are there elements of like not yourself as in like, I actually want to hit someone in the head with an axe kind of thing, but
sure,
like,
sure.
Is there, when you write the song, is there any kind of personal connection to what you're saying at all, be it like this is an emotion I'm expressing, or this is a story that's a metaphor for something, or is it all just like horror kind of play?
Well, it depends on the song.
Okay.
Frankly, some songs are much more serious and grounded in reality. That's even close. Like Legions of Different Kind is like just a song about like a crazy guy with a fucked up face who like keeps people in a pen. But also like the song title Legions of Different Kinds is just like a goofy thing that I used to say about like my eczema. So like some shit is like, you know, like some shit is sort of like a little bit reality based, but mostly, yeah, fantasy, horror, just like they're like, you know, funny stories. So
okay. Well, actually, that's kind of so. We're one of the reasons, besides that, you know, we just like your music and wanted to chat with you. We're actually really quite excited because for some reason, you know, this is not our. We've done almost 20 interviews now, and you're somehow the first band that we've talked to that actually does the gore thing. Like, you know, some of the bands have references to violence. You know, you mentioned Inferi, you know, Archspire. They have like a little bit, but you're the first one that does kind of like the axe murder stories and stuff like that. So we're kind of want to dig into this sort of theme. And we just want to start kind of broadly. Why did you decide to have this kind of brutal murder, violence, etc., as kind of the lyrical theme that your band was going to be built around?
Well, it didn't start like that, honestly. Originally, the very first demo, which was 2019, the very first song we had written for the band was called Unadorned Coffin. And I remember I thought it would be really cool to write lyrics that were like low dark fantasy, like exploring like a fucking shitty Daggerfall dungeon and there's like skeletons with swords and shields, but not like really high fantasy wizard shit. So and I just like wrote a song about like a wooden coffin in a place that is just there. It's not really any action. And I thought those kind of lyrics were cool. And then we tried to do some like Lovecraft lyrics on that one. And it wasn't until the next demo that we did the same year, on the song Consumed Then Pursued. That was the first time I tried to write like gore song, not like gore song, but that song is about chasing people down, eating them, shitting back out, and then eating them again. So it's kind of like a gross song. And it's just recycling, right? Funny, right? I mean, how fucking funny is that though? It's ridiculous. So and then and then we get to the LP and like, yeah, the first lyric of the album is like, here's my fucking axe. So, and I put it in your head. So I don't know, you know, it's how did we get there? I can't write about aliens too much because then you're just an alien band. And I don't think that like, I don't know. I have no idea. It's just like sometimes it really fits the tonality of the song and like the speed of the song. Like sometimes it just makes sense.
Okay. So when you're writing like these stories of gore and violence, how do you decide how much detail to give? Like, because we notice that it varies a little bit across the different songs, right? So like on Suitably Hacked to Gore that you just mentioned, you have phrases like, you know, here's my fucking axe, I put it in your head, which are pretty straightforward, right? But there's also lines like futile, legless, attempted escape, which discusses the aftermath of acts of violence that you haven't actually specifically described. Likewise, on the new album, you have Necrobionics, specifically details crude metals jammed into sockets, while Enhancing the Dead is more vague, you know, in mentioning just attaching metal to flesh or beginning with a corpse and ending with machine. Is there a level of detail that you think is like just right? Like, how do you decide for different songs, like what's the appropriate amount of detail to go into?
Well, honestly, I never go into too much like detail because I'm not like a thesaurus, like open lyric writer, frankly. Like I'm not like the viscera is tearing. I can't even think of a huge fucking textbook metal words right now. I'm too big. But I like not too much detail, right? Some left up to the imagination is good. You know, like Robert Jordan, like Wheel of Time, never writes about like fucked up gore shit happening, but it happens. But in like Game of Thrones, it's like always like right on display, full front. And which I like that shit too. I'm not sick and twisted enough, I don't think. So and so yeah, it does vary song by song. So like Enhancing the Dead and Necrobionics actually are part of the same like lyrical Undeath universe, I guess you could say. And Enhancing the Dead is a way more like overarching sort of narrative like story to it. You know, it's not really getting into any details at all. It's just sort of being like everyone's dead, the zombies killed them. And then at the end of the song, like the zombies launch away from Earth and then take the fight beyond. I think that's what the lyric is. And then Necrobionics though is literally just about like the process of being adapted into the skeleton army.
Mhm.
Like, I don't like talking about metal lyrics is goofy, but so you know what I mean. Like it does really just depend on the song and depends on the verse and how the riff sounds.
Mhm.
You know, like a really fast and like aggressive riff, I feel like maybe demands more like aggressive lyrics and like vocal patterns
Mhm.
and delivery and shit like that versus not to get too far ahead, but like human chandelier on the new record is I don't want to talk about too much because it won't be out, but it doesn't sound like other songs, and so it's not a super violent song. It's a pretty like methodical song, and just like relatively chill. So I don't know, you know.
You mentioned, that the metal lyrics can be kind of silly, and yeah, they can, and when they are silly, they can be kind of fun. But is there like is there a line that like if it's crossed, they're no longer kind of silly, and they just like, even for someone that likes metal, they're just kind of like unpleasant? Is there something for you that like, have you ever written anything where you've gone back and been like, a bit too far and kind of pulled it back? Does that happen?
A bit too far in like the silly direction.
Or
but
in the other direction too. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have edited. A lot of the times, like, I'll just try to have like an idea of, especially, okay, so like, let's say the chorus comes first, then it's like, I feel like the verses just need to like explain what the chorus is about kind of, and or like, but yeah, I don't know. Not really. Honestly, typically, I don't even have to like go back and like do a lot of rewriting and shit. I'll just try to do that in the session, just like pound it out really fast. If I'm feeling sort of inspired, get it done, and then come back to it later. And normally it's good.
Well, for these topics though, you have things that, for instance, wouldn't be, say, welcome at like average dinner table kind of lyrics. Like we've talked about violence and mutilation. Fiend for Corpses references consumption and sexual acts with dead bodies. Human chandelier, which you mentioned, is about the construction of a human chandelier. So in the abstract, of course, these are all shocking and offensive topics, but obviously you're performing them in metal spaces for metal audiences. So I guess like when you write this, is being shocking or being offensive your goal at all? Or kind of what's the impact that you hope the discussion of these topics has for your listeners, especially the listeners that go back and actually read the lyrics?
Well, like you just said, we do play them in metal spaces, and I think in my head, like, I'm not even really thinking about like being shocking or anything. In my head, I'm just like writing it for myself to like listen to, or like other people who enjoy the kind of music. I don't really think that I don't think that a song about like eating and banging a dead body is necessarily really that shocking for most people that listen to death metal. So I don't, you know what I mean? Like it's not like cerebral rot. Like we're not writing about like eating poop. I think that's way more shocking and disgusting. But I mean, I guess like to each their own. But I don't know. So I don't know. Not really trying to be like shocking. Not even really trying to have like not trying to say that the lyrics are like extremely boneheaded and like one-dimensional, because I don't feel like they are, but I also don't necessarily think that they're like conversation worthy. Maybe.
Is there any like subject matter then that you think you would prefer to avoid? Like you mentioned earlier, for instance, that you wouldn't write songs about like murdering women or something like that, right? So is there anything that you think kind of trespasses into the area of being like too offensive and not enjoyable anymore that you just wouldn't write about?
For a metal audience,
I think so.
Yeah,
totally. I definitely think so. I think that like, I mean, yeah, Fiend for Corpses is like about that shit, but like the main hook, like the chorus doesn't really like have too much like brutality. I don't know. to me, what really, nothing is really too over the top, I don't think. Okay, but you're right. Like, there's shit that we wouldn't write about. Like, we're not going to write about like being racist. We're not racist. Like, we're not going to write about killing women. We're not like dumb misogynists. We're not going to like, I don't know, but like on the field, like of the playing field of like writing goofy horror stories and shit, like I don't really think so. And as long as like the lyrics are good and like they flow and like they rhyme and like they're fine and like they fit the bars, you know, like they fit like the riffs really well and shit, then to me it wouldn't be too grating, you know. Like if it's just nonstop brutality relentlessly, I guess it could probably be pretty freaking grating to the mind.
Is there something about like a level of realism that's involved? Because you mentioned like, you know, racism and violence against women, which are things that metal fans have probably experienced, whereas eating a corpse or being a corpse that's eaten is probably low on the, you know,
regular
removed from reality.
Further removed from reality. Is there like, I know, you know, we talked earlier about like you had the sci-fi kind of pair of songs about modifying corpses that fly. Again, not a day-to-day experience, even within the metal scene. Is like the level of realism part of this more than just the gore, do you think? Is there a, like, once you start talking about things people do kind of experience in their actual lives, does that actually make it a bit more uncomfortable than the level of detail you're giving?
Yo, I think that actually you're making a great point. I think that for sure, as long as it's super fantastical, it just doesn't fucking matter. Like I don't want to write about shit that's really real and gritty. Like, I guess we could, I don't know, but like if this doesn't really seem like it's us, like we're a pretty fantasy oriented band, whether it be, you know, high-low fantasy or sci-fi or what have you, but fantastical. So,
well, speaking of sci-fi fantasy, beyond just the common discussions of gore across your songs, there are a lot of tracks that do discuss, you know, mutilating or violating dead bodies to reform them, like be it into killing machines or household objects. So what about this concept then? It makes it something that you find interesting to revisit and explore, particularly on the new album?
It's freaking scary. Like, that's the last thing I would want to happen to me. Like our Decibel Flexi song we did, Dimented Dissection, of course, is like, well, let me see if I can find the lyrics so I don't mess them up. I don't know, you know, it's just like something I would really not want to happen to me. And like one thing that hasn't come up yet, but like super inspired by like video games and shit. And like you know, like video games always have like such fucked up gore, like Dead Space. Like I remember when I was a kid, those sort of monsters made like a huge impression on me. And like I've always been a huge WoW player. I'm a big fan of like how Warcraft universe sort of like represents the undead, especially that one, because they're not too like gory and shit or fucked up, but like they are in a bit. So I'm trying to find the lyrics to my own song, but I'm really having trouble, and I'm sorry.
I have them here if you want to. Which track was it?
Dimented Dissection.
Off the new album?
It is a Decibel Flexi song. It's like a one-off. Well, I think I remember them if you can't pull them off. But that one's like really about what we're talking about. Like, you die, someone has your body, unfortunately, and they're like fucking it up, and it's like, now I'm gonna like make you into the most twisted, deformed thing. Like I don't know, it's just fucked up and kind of scary. So I think writing death metal songs about fucked up, scary shit is the right way.
So actually it's kind of interesting because we've had a few interviews where people have talked about singing about like the desecration of corpses because they're kind of actually personally a bit uncomfortable with it. Is there like I've never actually thought about it kind of in this way until you mentioned it, but is there a part of writing about these kind of things as a way to work through personal fears? Is that like,
maybe? I mean, I definitely think that you're right. It is a little bit uncomfortable and weird, and maybe it's just fun. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm working through. I mean, I guess I'm not too really afraid of being like kidnapped, murdered, dismembered, and turned into a rocket launching zombie, though, unfortunately. No. But I mean, I am a guess. No one wants to die. Well, at least I don't right now. So I don't. I guess just like the whole subject matter of death metal is just like people being like, "Damn, dying would suck."
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, we notice that we know when you write your lyrics, they often written from a first person perspective, wherein the singer is the I or me in the song and is generally kind of committing acts of violence against somebody else. So 8 of the 10 tracks on your first album take this approach, and 5 of the 10 songs on your second album do as well. So we're wondering, like, what draws you to this sort of I commit violence against you structure?
Well, geez, I'm like really being psychoanalyzed. I'm just kidding. Well, I got to be real with you guys. Like the lyrics come like I said, I don't do a lot of editing, and I just kind of like, I'll just hit a point where I'm just like, man, this fucking part needs like lyrics, or this song needs lyrics. I'm just gonna get them done. Like smoke a bowl and drink a cup of coffee and like just crank them, like write them. So I don't really think about it too much, like the perspective and stuff. Some songs, definitely, that's like a more important part. But honestly, I just kind of think that writing songs from a first person perspective is more engaging for like a audience reader and listening reader. And it's like, if you're like in the head of like what's going on, I feel it's just like more energy, like you kind of get like more vibes. I don't know. Sick.
Have you ever discussed this with your singer at all? Like, do they prefer singing from a perspective where they can like kind of manifest the like be part of the story that they're telling, or has that never come up?
No, it's never actually really come up. We've never really talked about it, but honestly, I think that it probably like makes him like sing hard as hell too, right on stage. Like he's like singing the lyrics and he's like I, me. I don't know. There's got to definitely be some sort of like psychological element to that, though. You're definitely right.
But like embodying the character or something like that.
Yeah, and just like fucking, I mean, yeah, like you got to go up on stage and like yell into a microphone for like 30, 40 minutes. Like it's kind of hard work, so you got to get like blood pumping and shit.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned on one of the tracks, the legions of a different kind, that the I kind of was, like in a distant way you because of eczema, etc. Is this something that happens sometimes too, that you actually do write down I and you think, oh, this is me?
No, almost never. That one was definitely an exception. I mean, I can't say that I've never like not written a song where I'm like pissed off and then the song is like not about like killing people. That would be kind of weird. But like you feel like a little, you don't have very much like the hell is the word, like agency or something in your life, so you write like a frustrated song or something. I'm sure that like fucking mad emo kids do that. Like everyone probably does that shit. I feel like writing metal lyrics isn't too different than like just writing other lyrics, except for like the subject genre has to be a little more, or subject matter I should say, has to be a little more metaled up. But yeah, no, never really. The I is not me or anything like that. No.
Well, speaking of like who the I represents, what we found kind of interesting is that like on your first album, you have one track, Chained to Reeking Rotting Body, where the I is the victim rather than the perpetrator of the violence. And you have a reference to like a collar pulling on my tired neck. So hunters will surely catch me now. And even on the new album, this perspective is slightly more common. So in songs like Defiled Again, there's the I losing their mind, and Necrobionics begins with chopped in half, but I can't feel it. Anesthesia is tricking my brain into life. And Head Splattered in 7 Ways involves the singer asking someone to just kill me. So what motivated you to increase your exploration of these scenes where the singers actually taking on the role of the victim rather than the perpetrator of violence?
Well, just kind of like subconsciously, probably just trying not to like write the same songs about like the same shit over and over, because that is definitely something that we try not to do. I try not to like repeat the same riff ideas and like lyric ideas and vocal ideas, and even it's easier to do on a 4-song EP than it is on a 10-song album, but I try not to even have like the same key like over and over in like songs and shit. But so I think it comes more from like a musical standpoint of just like wanting the songs to kind of be different and shit, but also because being a victim of unspeakable acts of violence would suck, and it's like kind of scary. And you know what I mean? Also, the Defiled Again one, yeah, he's like reading this book. He like can't stop reading the book, and he's like going psycho. Sucks for him. So yeah, I guess he is like the victim. And geez, I'm sorry, what was the first song that you mentioned?
Chained to a Reeking Rotting Body.
Right. Yes, I did want to talk about that because interesting tidbit. There is actually going to be another chunk of lyrics for that song that I left out, in which the victim person running away from everyone was going to realize they were going to look at the body finally that was chained to them, and it was actually going to be them. Then the song was going to end. It didn't make any sense.
Oh, that's
I thought
dope.
it was funny.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. It's like a little I think it's like a Lovecraft
like a
story that has that little twist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So but honestly, I was just like, it didn't really make any fucking sense. And also I just didn't really like the vocal part. I can't remember which riff it was over, but I just remember it didn't really fit that good, and so scrapped it. But yeah, that was definitely the first one. I think that's probably the most like one, like the most urgent like song we have of like, you know, we're like actively being chased. It's not like about something that's already happened or like just describing something. I would like to do more songs like that. I think it was pretty cool. And I also like that intentionally the song is like short and linear, like you are just, you know, running through just going, not stopping. So it's chill. I like that one. I would like to do another song like that one, but next time.
Well, speaking of victims, it's interesting to note that sometimes the victim or, you know, the violent actor is referred to as, we would assume, like a generic you, as in songs like Hack to Gore or Shackles of Insanity. But in other cases, this person is referred to as an apparently more specific he, like in songs like Entranced by the Pendulum and Kicked in the Protruding Guts. How do you decide to either use a more generic or more specific second or third person reference in those cases?
Man, it's been a while since I jotted those lyrics down. So I honestly can't say why. Well, the Pendulum one, I believe that song has multiple characters in it. There's the guy on the table getting chopped by the pendulum, and then there's the guy watching or doing the, you know, whatever. So I don't know. I feel like maybe I just felt like I needed to kind of make sure to differentiate between the two guys. I guess just a generic he is not a very good way to do that. I don't know. Probably just because I'm stupid. That's why. And on Shackles of Sanity is like I think that song is mostly from first person, except for maybe when he's referring, the character of the thing is referring to this other insane voice he's hearing that he can't see. And he might refer to that as like a he or something. I can't quite remember. I'm sorry. I should have pulled all these up. Yeah. So I'm not sure. It's not too conscious, but now that I've been on this podcast with you guys, I think that I'm gonna have to really pay attention.
We get that a lot.
We're glad we're making contributions to the craft. Kind of broadly speaking, outside of obviously including your music, but outside of it, like, why do you think metal fans enjoy music that like on paper talks about killing them? Like, you know, if somebody and I ask this as a fan who listens to a lot of music about, in theory, the singer murdering me. You know, if somebody said something like this to me on the street, I'd obviously been comfortable with it. And weirdly enough, like, I don't think outside of metal, like if you had I guess they do it in hip hop and rap a bit, but like if there was a pop song that's just like, I'm going to stick an axe in your throat, I don't know if people would sing it at clubs and stuff, but for some reason in metal, we go to these shows and we have a person looking at us angrily and saying, you know, I'm going to eat your corpse. I'm going to chop you up into a chandelier. And we're just like, yeah. And I guess personally, where do you, is there something wrong with us? Like, why do we find enjoyment with being told that we're going to be slaughtered and hacked to bits?
Well, I don't know if I always imagine the you or whatever as myself when I'm listening, frankly. It's weird because, you know, in like I don't know why do cops, some cops probably like listen to Some Heads Are Gonna Roll by Judas Priest, you know. I don't know, like I don't fucking know. A lot of people do what they do. I mean, I such a I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe there is something wrong with this. I mean, if you listen to metal, there probably is fucking something wrong with this. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Is there like, I mean,
Sorry.
no, I don't have to apologize. Like, do we all just kind of have this filter, this kind of distance, or like, I mean, have you ever listened to a song where they say you and you feel like it is directed at like us, the listeners?
I think so. I mean, like if it's like a pump up song or something, you know, like I don't really listen to too much pop music, but I'm sure that like Firework by Katy Perry is like, you're a firework. Like I'm sure that everyone in the club is like, yes, I am the firework.
Right.
But in like I don't know, and literally any Cannibal Corpse song, like I don't necessarily imagine myself getting murdered. So I don't know. I think that, you know what, like when you just listen to metal music, like metal music versus like other kinds of music sort of is like a lifestyle music, you know what I mean? So like you're so like you're so conditioned in a way to like just not really give a fuck. Like I just don't think, who cares? Like I know Alex isn't gonna kill me or like anyone. I mean, have you looked at George Fisher?
Yeah.
He's not gonna kill you. He won't be able to chase you. I'm just kidding. That was not nice. No, I have to edit that. I don't know. But like fucking yeah, like metal singers are nerdy as hell. Like most people who play metal music are nerdy as hell. It takes a lot of hours to sit there on the guitar and like play. And that's mostly a time that you're probably not fighting or stabbing or eating corpses, you know? So I don't know. Yeah, I just think that it's probably like you're just totally, what the hell is the word, like when you're desensitized to the lyrical violence.
It's interesting because you said that, like, you know, a lot of the topics that you like to write about are topics that like make you scared. And I wonder if like as listeners, we also want to like hear stuff that makes us a bit scared. Like, you know, like you go to a horror movie because you want to feel that adrenaline rush of being a little bit scared, right? So
hell yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think like as much as we're desensitized, we also want to get that rush of feeling like, you know, when you hear something that's a little bit confronting?
I think so. And like I mean, yeah, like you do definitely get more desensitized to it the more that you do. Like the first time you read fucked up crazy lyrics is, you know, like gonna be way more impactful than like the 15,000th time that you do. But also like sometimes you just hear something fresh, like you know what had fucking awesome lyrics that came out last year, I thought was the Stormkeep album. And like just hearing a song with like raw sounding black metal vocals where he literally is saying the word wizards and like fucking keep and shit, I'm like, all right, this is definitely like more striking and shit than like, I don't know, gore lyrics to me have been in a while. But I don't know.
What about like you do have some tracks and they've kind of been increasing a little bit where there is no I at all. Like your first album has the song Archfiend Coercion Methods, which has no I or me. And in the new album, Rise from the Grave and Bone Rot both avoid the first person. Is this a style you've been experimenting with as well? Is there like a difference to your approach with this kind of storytelling, or is this just kind of fit into that trying to keep it fresh thing that you mentioned earlier?
Well, Rise from the Grave was like the first song that was written like that. And I just kind of like the pure like fantasy, like narration standpoint, sort of. And Bone Rot actually was written by our bassist Tommy and Alex, I believe, collaborated on the lyrics to that one. And I know that Rise from the Grave, particularly like the lines about like forging steel for the dead and shit like that, were like pretty influential for that, and like Necrobionics line and stuff. But and for that, I can't really speak to exactly why or how Tommy and Alex wrote the lyrics to that one. But yeah, it's also like a Rise from the Grave kind of, just like I feel like you're sort of looking at like a story map almost, not like necessarily a super detailed out story, but like you're like way zoomed out of it or something. I don't know.
So there are also some places where it appears like you're attempting to inject some elements of humor, albeit, very dark humor, but humor nonetheless. A really blatant example is from Suitably Hacked to Gore, where you refer to expanding your mind a second time with a blade to the brain. Is it your intent to engage in like this kind of wordplay, create puns that I suppose generate a more humoristic tone?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that that's one of the more like sort of brutal like imagery parts. Like, so I think that having some humor there is kind of funny, and I feel like a lot of people won't even like read the lyrics or even understand what the hell he's saying in that part. Excuse me, sorry. So yeah, I don't think that being a little funny is bad. I mean, we're not like a humorous band or anything, but I do love a good little Easter egg or something. On the song Defiled Again, there is a rhyme, which would not work as a rhyme unless Alex. So, geez, I should be way more prepared for this. So the line is, it ends on what I like to call a James Hetfield rhyme.
Okay.
And that is because, yes, so he says, decimation of the dermas, withering and edema, clutching at my throat. I can't look away, away. And he doesn't say the part, like it doesn't rhyme with edema. You know what I mean? So he's like, away. Like it's not funny, but I think that's fucking mad funny. So I don't know.
I didn't realize it until we mentioned it because I read it without speaking it aloud. But even like bone rot's a pun, right? Because it's rot as in rot from bone, but it sounds like rot as in like rotting bones, right? So that's like, I mean, it's not haha joke, but it is wordplay, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah. No, totally. I definitely think that was the intention of that for sure.
So like, have you had, I mean, this is a very kind of stereotypical kind of, view, but have you encountered that idea like metal can't be funny, frowny face? This is like, is that something you see in the scene at all, or you just humor?
I mean, it's totally different band to band for like every subgenre, I think. But for the most part, I think metal does really take itself super seriously, which isn't a bad thing at all. I mean, I think that's great. Not that like the people themselves take themselves super seriously outside the music, but like I don't know. Honestly, I think that was way more common maybe in like the 2010s, like right after like I can't remember what the hell this freaking album is called for some reason. It was like a huge album like 2010, and then I feel like everyone wanted to make like ultra reverb out like cavernous death metal, and it was like super serious, and like even if I feel like you were trying to fucking read along with the lyrics half the time you couldn't because there's like so much reverb. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case now. I think especially like Nagasonic, you get some like bands that are a little bit more focused on being funny, like not funny, like but like I don't know if you guys have heard the band Body Box, but like they have a song that it's about like the perils of cocaine addiction, which is a pretty serious subject matter, but also in the song the fucking vocals are like go cocaine. It's like hilarious. It's so fucking funny. So and it's like super heavy, you know what I mean? It's not like it's goofy, it's not like the Wiggles or some shit, but it's still kind of funny. I don't know. I think that to me there needs to be like some element, but it's different because like Blood Incantation's not going to have fucking elements of like humor. I mean, I guess the whole idea of their band is humorous. Like they're writing songs about like fourth dimension and interdimensional like fucking space demons that like feed off of negative energy. And it's like, all right, I mean, that's pretty funny, bro. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
So generally speaking, your lyrics are like a reasonably straightforward style. So there's a lot of like single syllable words or terms that would be familiar to most speakers of English, right? So for instance, Kicked in the Protruding Guts has 186 words and about 164 of them. So we're looking at about like 88% are one syllable long. Is this a conscious approach that you take to writing?
Well, just like I said, I'm not really like, I don't try not to anyway have just like a thesaurus open next to me or like a syllabus or something. Like, well, syllabus, no, I definitely use a syllabus all the time. It's very helpful, but like having something to like look up like fucking for like I don't know. And like, yes, it is, but also it isn't. I mean, I just, it's not, I'm not trying to be too pretentious. Like, we're not that I'm saying if you do write songs with like big words, you're pretentious. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But like, I think like Dylan Walker from Full of Hell, like that dude will write songs that only have like 8-syllable words. And I'm like, I don't really even know what any of these words mean. And I can't really even follow along, which is dope. I mean, it totally works for him and them. It's great. So I'm not hating or anything, but it's just not really us. I don't think. I like to keep it simple.
Do you consider like accessibility when you write? Like, do you want listeners or people that, take the time to read the lyrics to be able to just immediately understand their content?
It's something that's come up more than in the beginning, but yeah, absolutely. I don't want to like put all this work and shit into a song that like sucks. Like you just can't fucking hear it or something. Yeah. So no, accessibility. Not that we're trying to. Well, like, look, like the band could sound like Last Days of Humanity and be like completely inaccessible even to like most metal listeners, which that's just not what I want to do. I like want to play music that like people can enjoy, like that also like that I enjoy, because I'm not listening to Last Days of Humanity more than like once a year for the meme factor, frankly. So like I just want to write songs that I think are good and like have a good immediate hook, really. And I don't know. Yeah, it's like a little bit less, I feel like, of a traditional at this point, like extreme metal approach to songwriting. But I don't know. I'm just been more into that sort of thing lately.
You mentioned a change. Was there something like when the band first started? Was this not kind of the way you thought about things?
No. Well, I had no idea. Like, when you start a band, it has no identity. It's like nothing. So really, we were just kind of putting together riffs. And well, Alex wasn't even actually in. He came to the band probably about 3 or 4 months after we started. And I mean, the vocals weren't really a huge part of the sound. Like they were there. It's death metal. It's got to have growl vocals. Like instrumental death metal is not my thing. It sounds awful. I would not want to listen to that. Well, and there weren't even very many vocals. Like there was like large chunks of songs where like it was just all about the riffs and the drumming and shit. Like, and I don't know. Lots of death metal is like that, like Faceless Burial and like Tomb Old, like they have vocals and shit, but there's long sections of their songs where like they're not singing. And those two bands in particular are not, in my opinion, seriously focused on like the making the vocals like a really like songy thing. They're pretty like ooh, you know what I mean? It's like the whole time. So I don't know. I just wanted to really work Alex's like singing into the music more, and what that means as like death metal. I don't know. Just been trying to explore it myself and figure it out. Because I feel it'd be really easy to make that fucking cringy and like suck. So I don't know. Just trying to do it a little better each release, I guess.
There are some cases though where you do kind of put some like larger words in, like on Kicked we mentioned, even though in general the lyrics are general kind of one syllable straightforward, there is the word dissimulate, which I had to look up. I'd never seen it before. And on the new album, especially on like the science fiction-y tracks about robot corpses that we mentioned, there's like anesthesia, necrobionics, obviously, ligaments, filaments, sepulchral supremacy, Olsean creation. Is there an impact that you're looking for the kind of this strategic use of larger words, in particular medical terminology? Is there a reason they appear in higher quantity on certain tracks?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I did say, I don't ever really do that shit, but like, I mean, it just like really, yeah, it does depend on the track. Like Necrobonics is like a really down and dirty, like to the nitty gritty details of like what it would be like to be on a factory conveyor line of fucking robots and aliens that are like affixing weird shit to your body. I'm not sure either of you have ever played Quake 4, but there's an easily YouTubeable scene called the Strogification sequence, where like you get turned into a Strog. They like remove your legs and arms and shit and attach like robot arms. It's like that's how Necrobonics really came to be. It's like super inspired by that. So and it's like if it's a song about that kind of shit, I feel like it needs to have sort of like some medical terminology and stuff like that. I don't know, but not like too ridiculous, like I feel like anesthesia is a word, like everyone's heard the word
Yeah,
anesthetics
yeah.
before, like it's so I don't know, just kind of shit like that.
So is there like do certain lyrics, do you think they match certain like not metal themes, but just like genre themes? Like you can have a straightforward song about like hitting someone with an axe, but if you're talking about sci-fi, it needs to be a bit more like large. Is that kind of a feeling that's
Sort
out there?
of. Yeah, I think so. And I think that like the way I would approach like writing about like elves and shit would be different. And we don't have any elf songs yet. But
There's still
you know
time.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
album 3. I look forward to the album.
yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's all about elves. But no, I don't know. Like fucking, I just feel like the language you use when you write about, like, I feel like the subject matters like have a vibe, and like words have a vibe, especially when they're connected into sentences. I'm just talking about the English language right now, but like,
Yeah,
you
go
know what
ahead.
I'm trying to say, I guess. Like,
No, yeah, what do you mean by vibe? Like
Yeah.
vibe.
like vibe, like an ambiance, like what the hell do you call it when you have like an association with something? Like a connotation. Like there's a certain connotation to like some words, especially in what depends on what context they're being used, I suppose. But in like a death metal song, I think that certain words have like connotation to like different things. I don't know. I feel like medical terms definitely connotate to like gore songs and shit like that. And if you're talking about like more like sci-fi shit, you have to be thinking like, maybe in the lyrical universe of the song, it's like technology is a little bit more advanced, so like you need bigger space words. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I don't know if I've ever thought about it this hard before.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because like the way I read it, like I do kind of get what you mean by there being like a different vibe that's generated by using like a different kind of collection of like lexical items, because in songs like like necrobonics, like we just use that as an example, like I think a lot of the medical terminology makes the song feel a lot like scarier in a specifically clinical way, that like other songs that don't have that kind of medical terminology might also be scary, but more in a like axe murderer kind of way. Does that make sense? I don't know if that was is that your
Absolutely.
intention at all?
Yeah, no, it totally is. Well, like all the like lyrical themes and shit, this is like so weird, and I don't know how to describe it further than just like the vibe of like the riffs and like that sort of thing, like which don't, it's not like they come out of nowhere and not like thin air or something, but like maybe the riff will be sort of similar to like a different song, and that's just like a jumping off point, is like like you're thinking about this other song or something, or like even just like I feel like the riff from Human Chandelier, the main chorus riff, which I'm not going to sing on the podcast because I don't want to ruin it, but really just like spoke to me as something that it should be, evil, but like a hoity-toity evil, sort of like a rich person. And I was like, well, what's like rich shit? Well, chandeliers are like in mansions, and if it's death metal, it's obviously got to be made out of bones. So like I don't know, like sometimes it just comes from like just how the fucking music sounds, I guess, as I'm going along.
What about for the vibes with the words themselves? Like, where do you think we acquire these vibes? Because there are individual, right, to some extent. Like, how one word vibes for one person would be different. Like as metal fans, or just as yourself as a metal lyricist, where do you feel like these vibes that you get from words originate?
Good question. Really, I don't know. Where the hell do any connotations begin? I guess just by like probably being young and like learning shit. Honestly, you know what I mean? Like. And like when you learn things and like what you learn them from, I don't really know. I have no idea. That is a really good question. I don't know, to be honest. I have no idea.
Okay. I mean, I don't either. That's why I was asking, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like where the hell do they come from? Like, well, I guess like it just depends on like what you learn the words from, right? Like that's it for like person by person basis.
Like so, the context that you encountered them in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So like Carcass's first few albums just completely messed with all of our brains in a way, like created these links that were all
correct. Yeah.
110%. I think so, at least, because that's like how I think that's exactly why I associate like medical terms with fucking gore shit, to be honest with you. It's probably the early Carcass records. Yeah.
So we did also notice that you tend to employ strategic use of repetition and rhyme, because as you mentioned before, you really like to integrate rhyme, right? So going back to Kicked, for instance, we can see both of these in repeated use with with my boots, metal toes, I deliver mortal blows. And on the new album, there are even more complex rhymes that break syllable symmetry, like sarcophagus lord, decimate the living horde. What do you think draws you to this kind of rhyme and repetition, even this more non-standard form of rhyme and repetition?
I just think that it makes a good sounding like song and vocal part. I don't know. I just like have sort of always written like that, even when I wasn't writing like death metal lyrics. I just think that rhyme and repetition and like wordplay, like typical like shit that like hip hop like rappers would employ, you know, like to write good bars. I think that are it's probably not too dissimilar to like writing death metal shit. So I just always try to incorporate that stuff. And I don't know. I really do really like lyrics that rhyme. And especially like non-standard rhymes. I think that shit is cool too. And like fucking you know, like a word that doesn't really quite rhyme or like it does in like a death metal way. Like I think that shit's cool too. I don't know.
Is there, so like you have and this is something that some bands do and kind of some bands don't, is that a lot of your songs do repeat the name of the song multiple times within the track. Does that come from like, do you write the name of the track and then work it into the song, or do you say, oh, this line's come up a bunch of times in the song, let's make it the title of the track?
Almost always, probably always the first way. Like either like a line will just will be like, oh, that's a good line, like that should be the title. I would say definitely on the new album, almost all the songs titles are the chorus, right? It's like the part of the song that like repeats, it never changes. It just makes sense to me, like it should be the title. I mean, I guess, you know, if it is like that every time, maybe it gets old. So I don't know if it will always be like that, but at least on the new record, that's how it is. On our other music, I always try to have the title at least be like the part of the song that's like the most badass, like in a way, like I kick and I kick and I kick, like kicking the protruding guts part. Not that we don't ever say kicking the protruding guts in the song, but like, you know, it's like it has their refrain, I kick and I kick and I kick. So I don't know. It's different every time, but I would say like sometimes, dude, like sometimes the song title even could come first. I'm just like, that's a great title for a song. And then you got to kind of fill it in from there with like the verses, and the verses are always kind of like the meat of the story of my songs. So I don't know.
Well, we talked a lot about like similarities that we've observed across your lyrics, but one kind of key difference that we had a look at, emerged between the lyrics on the two albums, and this is in the area of swearing, because on your first record, there's 5 uses of fuck, as in my fucking axe, you're fucked, and spewing fucking vile, and 1 use of shit. The new album, though, only uses the word damn, and only in repetitions of the phrase "the book of the damned." So not exactly what we might consider like a traditional swear word, right? So do you constantly decide to reduce the? Did you actually consciously decide to reduce the amount of swearing when writing the new album?
No. I believe the very first time we ever used fuck in a song was on Phantasmal Festering, and that song actually was on our second demo as well. So it's the part that's like this big, like all instruments drop out and it's just a guitarist tapping like, and then Alex goes, crushing the fucking skull or some shit like that. And it didn't actually go like that at first. Alex was like, we should put fucking in there. Because I think the line actually went crushing the skull, or like they're just slower or something. So like I think that probably actually came from Alex. And I also think that on Shackles of Sanity, I believe the fucks in that one were also courtesy of Alex. But starting the record off with "Here's my fucking axe," I just thought that was like a really strong, I mean, it's a really goofy line, like pretty silly, but I thought it was like a strong one just to start the record off with. So I don't know. And was it conscious to reduce the amount of swearing on the new record? No. And yes, I just feel like the songs were even a bit more fantastical on the new record. And like, I feel like the more fantastic, like they don't, yeah, like I guess like first person point of view songs about violence, I think that fuck could fit in really well, but I don't necessarily know if fuck fits into like skeleton songs.
I mean, it does have an impact sometimes, though. Right? Like on the last Cannibal Corpse album, I just remember the first track has that part where it's just like, I don't remember any lyrics, but it goes, "No fucking reason," and then it just like it just hits through the music, right? Is there like a obviously metal fans are not like, "Ooh, you said the bad word. I'm gonna turn this off," but you know, I guess is there kind of an impact to it, even to people that are desensitized? And on the other hand,
Absolutely.
on that question, can you use it too much?
Yes, 100%, 110%. I think more than a couple an album, you're really getting on thin ice on too many fucks. But yeah, dude, Cannibal Corpse uses the fuck to such great extent. You yeah, because I mean, like, whenever what do you say when you're pissed off? You say fuck. And if you're really pissed off, you're gonna be like fuck. So I think that, yeah, I definitely think so. And like, I don't know, like the energy of like what you're saying comes through in like your performance as a vocalist, right? I mean, like, so I think that, you know, George probably gets mad stoked when he's in the booth, like, fuck. So I don't know. I think so though. I definitely think that saying the word fuck is pretty striking. Yeah, I think it's a good one.
So like what happens then if you use it too often? You're saying like, you know, if you use it more than a couple of times across one album, like you kind of want thin ice. Like what do you think is the issue with using it too much?
It's just cheesy, I think. It's too cheesy. It's like I don't know how to back up my comment of saying it's too cheesy. Like I can't really divulge more than it. I just look at it or I hear it, because you hear it, you know what I mean? It's like it's fuck. Like it sticks out over everything, like you were saying. So you just keep hearing it and hearing it. It's like, all right, guys, this is fucking goofy.
Is it like, I don't know, does the do we lose a bit of the impact if you use it too much?
I definitely think so, yeah. And you know what, it comes off as like juvenile in a way. I mean, I'm saying that as a fucking person who plays in a death metal band, as a grown adult man. Like, yeah, I think that saying fuck in your death metal song too much is a bit juvenile, frankly.
I mean, but you do, like, it does have still, as you said, you know, a bit of impact. Why do you think these terms like fuck and shit and stuff are able to maintain some impact even to people like us that have, you know, willfully absorbed or been in areas where it's said for decades now?
I think that it's got to be, I mean, think of like when you fire off a fuck or a shit or a damn or a goddamn. It's just like such a rapid fire of like emotion. And like it's just like so intrinsically, like every culture has swear words and shit that you say like when you know you're not feeling happy. So like, I don't know, I just feel like it's just so linked to your subconscious that in a way you just hear it, especially like being screamed by Corpse Grinder, like, sure, you know, it just fucking hits you deep.
So we have just kind of one more prepared question, but before this started, you mentioned you wanted to discuss Head Splattered in 7 Ways, and which isn't out yet, but just for people that haven't heard, is, I believe, about getting shot in the face with a shotgun.
You know what? You think it's about that.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna get into it. But we were reading this, we did realize it was a bit it was different, I guess, because like you have dialogue in it, you have conversations. So it did kind of stand out to us. But yeah, what did you wanted to go into it? So let's talk. What was the idea behind the song? How did it come about?
Well, the very first thing I'd like to mention, and there's going to be a lot of shit like this that comes up, is the title of the song is 7 syllables. Head splattered in 7 ways.
Oh shit! Yeah, okay.
So yeah, so this is one where the song title came first, and I believe I had the song title thought of for mad long because, like, okay, look, it's a 7th track on the album. It's called Head Splattered in 7 Ways. It's got 7 syllables in the title. The whole song is in 7, except for the bridge, which is in 6, but repeats 7 times. So it's like all, you know, like numerological. And the song This is a one for Undeath that we've never done before, like an idea. It's like you're right, it is a dialogue between two people. And like setting wise, it doesn't really say, I guess, but I've always imagined it taking place in like a Law and Order interrogation room setting. You know, it's just like a fucking table and like white light and two people sitting across from each other. And it's like the first guy talking, he thinks that this other guy did shoot someone in the head with a shotgun, but you know, and then it turns out that actually he didn't shoot him with a shotgun. He used his mind powers to blow up his head, and then he blows up the first guy's head in the song, and then walks away. And then it's like the victory lap chorus again. So yeah, that's a goofy ass song. I honestly like had the title for so long and like a lot of the riffs done, and I just had no idea what to write it about. And then I was like, well, I asked Alex, I was like, what should the song be about? And he's like, well, obviously it needs to be about a head splattering in 7 ways. And I was like, well, I mean, like, what's the meat? So I don't know. I just tried to do something like a little different and like a little unexpected, maybe. Probably could have been executed a little better, but we'll work on it.
In reading this, there's a lot of like, did you edit the lyrics to make like 7-syllable lines? Because there's a bunch. There's you loaded it with 2 slugs. That's where no, that one doesn't work. Sorry. Never leave the ground again. And destroying what nature built. There's a bunch of these that are actually 7 syllables in the song. Did these just happen, or did you sit down and go, I gotta work 7-syllable lines into this?
No, honestly, those probably just happen because of like, you know, the song's in odd meter, so like you need an odd amount of like especially if every syllable is just like on an eighth note, like you need, you know, 7 syllables to, like fit a bar or like whatever, like watch like that. So I don't know. That's pretty cool though.
It is, yeah. Okay. So I guess go ahead. Sorry.
Talk about that. No, I'm sorry. I just want to say that's really all I wanted to talk about with that song. I just lots of 7 references and shit.
I guess like kind of what made you want to do 7 references if we get to the fundamental question there?
You know where this thing came from actually is Cannibal Corpse song 5 Nails to the Neck, in which they have some riffs in 5. Like it's not as like, at least I mean to my knowledge and like analysis, I don't think that it goes too far beyond just having a couple riffs in 5, and like the song title is 5 Nails to the Neck. It could though, now that I'm thinking about it, actually might. But yeah, so I just was like, man, that's so sick. Like and it's a 5th track on the album too. Like it's so hard. Like, so what could we do? Like, and I don't know, I just thought of Head Splattered in 7 Ways and fleshed it out from there over a couple months.
Beat Cannibal Corpse with their own game, up the numbers by 2.
No. I could never. Well, I will say one more thing is that the guy on the cover of the new record's head is exploding into 7 distinct parts as well.
Okay.
Reference that. Yeah.
Great. I'm really glad you mentioned this, because that's not like the syllable thing is not something that we'd picked up on. Like, you know, we looked at the syllable count of individual words, but not, you know, collectively. So I think this is something we're going to have to look out for now. Start counting these syllables.
You have to go back and re-interview people.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I guess then just to kind of wrap everything up in a tight little bow here, when we speak broadly, what do you feel is the role of language and lyrics in Undeath's music? And what do you feel about the role of language and lyrics in metal more broadly?
Well, the role of language and lyrics in Undeath music is definitely to provide context for the riffs and you know, just the whole vibe. Like, I mean, everything about, at least Undeath, like the whole package is sort of like tries to lend itself to the vibe. Like, I feel like you can't have the songs without the cover art, you can't have the cover art without the songs, you can't have the lyrics without the riffs. So it's just like, it's just all really tied in and self-referential or something like that. And I don't know, it's just yeah, to provide the vibes truly. And in metal music as a whole, I mean, you're not gonna have people growl about silly shit So like they just need to be, I don't know, they carry the energy, you know, in a way. Like they're totally representative of like, I feel like how the song is supposed to make you feel. I mean, it's just the same as Undeath, you know, like Undeath's a metal band. The metal lyrics are just, they're there to help curate the atmosphere and everything like that. So at least I think they should be. Some people's aren't, but whatever.
Well, we should also ask you, where can listeners find out more about Undeath? Where can they listen to your music? What's the go with that?
Check out undeathmetal.com. That's our website. You can find all our socials and music links and merch things there. And I mean, we're real active on Instagram and Twitter. Hit us up there. I mean, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, shit like that. And we're not quite as active on those. So feel free to reach out if those are what you have. You can find all our music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, etc. And you can buy records through Bandcamp. You can buy them on the prosthetic store. I believe Amazon has their own variant. I think that Rough Trade in New York City has their own variant. So if you're a rare variant collector looking out for those are where you want to look.
And so the new album should be dropping quite soon after this interview. Is there like a tour or anything that's in plans, or?
There is, and it will be announced by the time this interview is out, but I can't say. I mean, I could, but yes, there will be.
Okay, cool.
Well, if we know it by the time we've released this, then we'll release that information alongside the episode description. How about that?
Perfect. You will for sure.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Kyle.
No, thank you both for having me on. It was really, really fun time. I'm sorry, I should have fucking done way more preparation, I guess. My bad.
You're good. Gave great answers.
Yeah, it's not a test, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
Thanks. Yeah, we had a lot of fun too.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you both very much again.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Have a great evening.
Cool. Yeah, you take it easy.
Thank you for listening to Lingua Italica. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you stay tuned for our next episode. Before we leave, we just wanted to acknowledge that this podcast is recorded on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging.